stuff we remember about. You guys remember Rocket Power?
Do you remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Ooh. Do you remember My Life as a Teenage Robot?
Do you guys remember Prometheus and Bob?
Wait a second. I think I've been asked that before.
Do you guys remember the Honestly Same podcast?
No, actually. What was that about?
Some bullshit.
It's 3 doctors. You don't remember this show?
Oh, they have a PhD in life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they know everything.
Wow. I used to listen to that all the time.
Honestly Same.
This is all about core memories, like the one where Leah did the worm. She was on. Honestly, same.
Ooh, honestly same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly same. Honestly same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly same.
How I was like checking my hair.
Everybody, our hair has been checked. And now we are going to jump into our brains. But first, welcome to the show. Welcome to Honestly Same. My name is Ross.
My name is Leah.
I'm Brittany.
And today, we're going to talk about all the different versions of Ross, Leah, and Brittany that have existed and our core memories that are trapped deep down in our little brains about, I don't know, maybe some unfun stuff tucked in there, something that sticks out in our brain, but mainly the fun core memories.
Yes.
All the fun things that we were just listing a little bit ago, unknowingly didn't know that you were watching.
Oh my God.
Whoops.
Those
Very
moments
good.
that live rent-free in our brains
Wow.
from all different parts of our lives.
So do we want to we'll break this down as like, do we want to jump into like a core memory from like each different part of our life and kind of what was...
I think we go chronologically
Yeah,
here.
and it doesn't have to be like a deep dive into like, well, as a teenager, I was doing all... It's more so just like, I really remember these things.
This shit just stuck with me. Yeah.
And because I do think there's so many though, because like I don't. There's just all these. Like I have like core memories for me is like one of my grandmas would like make a special recipe of like mac and cheese, and so like when I got to eat that, like that has stuck in my brain. Or also just coming home from school and just like starting like watching cartoons in general and like those cartoons sticking out. So many of them. I mean, there's like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Scooby-Doo. Like, I have core memories of like an odd core memory or like, you know, all the holiday seasons of Cartoon Networks,
yeah.
like not Cartoon Network specifically, but like those
Holiday
like
episodes.
all of the other reindeer.
Different.
Does anyone remember all of the other
Yes,
reindeer?
Olive, yeah.
Yes, her name was literally Olive.
Yeah.
Like that sticks out to me. Like there's that like the feeling of my grandma used to make these like icing cookies around that time. Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
But so picking one, I don't know. Maybe you guys pick one and it'll give me an example to kind of go off.
Ross gives us 17. Okay, I guess I'll think about one. You guys go.
Yeah. I feel like a core memory for me as a kid, my grandma actually used to make these really awesome cookies as well. So that was something that I feel like always was like, oh, grandma's cookies. Grandma's cookies. That was always a really big one. I think like my mom's side of the family in general, every visit that I had with them, I have core memories because it was like so few and far between. So I remember like getting like, I don't remember how old I was, but we had Christmas at my grandma and grandpa's in Florida one year, and I got this this game called Zoombeanies, and it was like these little bean-shaped characters, and you got to like choose their hair, and like you made like a whole slew of them, and then you sent them on adventures where there were like games that you had to play, and some of them like would fall off a cliff or something. So it would be like you had to try to make it like the whole team to the end of the thing, and all these little things that you made. So Zoombeanies, that was definitely a...
I remember Mighty Beans. Do you guys remember Mighty Beans?
Oh man,
they also
like,
had faces and stuff,
slightly.
But you would like just roll them down the stairs.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
Mighty
that.
Beans.
They were like...
I think so.
No, they were little.
Oh, what?
Yeah, these are like...
Yeah.
There might have been larger ones, but these were... Yeah.
We're gonna have to look and see if Zoombeanies were the same thing as Mighty Beans.
Well, Zoombeanies was a computer game.
You left that part out. I thought you were over here putting hair on little beans.
Oh, no.
Did you know she was talking about a computer?
I did, yes.
Did you know what it was already?
No, I don't know what it was, but when she said send them off on adventures, I was like, oh, this is a video game.
Oh,
Oh, I should
Not
have
just-
specified.
not
It was a
just
video
her.
game called Zoombini.
not me. I was like, she took her little bean to a cliff.
But I do remember the thing.
What an imagination.
One of the things, there's like a narrator person that was like, and then they go to the blah blah blah. And this guy, I remember when you got to like the end of the thing where like you got all of them to the little promised land or whatever the heck at the end, he would go, Zombies! And it was like one of those things that just lives like rent free in my brain.
Wow.
I'm
Okay,
like, man,
do you have-
imagine this voice
Okay.
acting job.
Do we want to share like our fun one and like is there a bad one that sticks out? Like do we want to do both of those?
Do we want to go all fun, all bad, or do we want to go fun, bad, fun, bad, fun, bad?
Maybe fun bad, fun bad,
All
fun
right.
bad. So
What's
that
your
way
bad?
we're
Ooh, okay. I thought we were gonna do multiple because he gave like 17.
No,
so are
you
you not
can
gonna
still-
give us any bad ones?
Oh, that's true. You did. Well, he's gonna give another.
Are you giving
childhood
her like
one, I
a
think.
singled out one?
that was me more so like laying all the groundwork for like the episode of just like there's this and there's that and there's this and there's that. But what
Oh,
if we
okay.
narrow it down? Like yeah.
Let's see. So Zumbinis is my good. Oh man, of all the things I could have chosen from my like childhood
You can
like
have
core
another
memory.
one if you want. Another.
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
know what
okay.
you were
Well, let's
choosing.
go. Let's go more like on the negative side. Okay, I remember. When I was a kid, I had two older sisters, and I remember them specifically playing witches. They had just watched Practical Magic for the millionth time, probably a movie that I was not allowed to watch because I was not old enough. And they were like playing witches, and I was like, I want to play witches, and they were like, no. You can't play with us. And I was like, come on, guys, let me play witches too. And then they started going, we bind Julia from harming others and yourself. And started doing
Wow.
that. And so, like, that lived in me as a core memory. So now that I can't stand up for myself in real life, I'm like, they made it so I can't
Oh my
do
God,
anything
they did. Witches
negative
curse.
towards anyone ever. So that was like, they also told me I was adopted, and I believed them once. And I tried to run away from home, and I stuffed a bunch of pennies in like my bike had like a fanny pack instead of like a proper basket. It was like this like fanny pack zip up thing, and I filled it to the brim with like coins from where I don't know. I had like a collection of, and I was like, I'm going, and I like ran away from home. So I like rode down the street, and then I realized I had no idea where I was going, and then I came back, and no one even noticed I was gone. So I would say that's
That
like,
is amazing.
I would say that's like maybe in line with like the negative stuff of just like growing up with two older sisters that picked on me from time to time.
Yeah,
So.
and just
That's
and even when we
fair.
say negative, it's just like a weird experience
It's
as a
something
kid.
that we
It's
went
like,
through, and it's like hilarious now because you're like, oh my fucking god.
it's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that this is a core memory
Yes.
is wild because it's ultimately not that big. Yeah,
Yeah, where you
okay.
were like, this was such a big deal at the time.
Oh, yeah.
right, yeah,
But yeah, later like down the line, I was like, oh, that was dumb.
right. Brittany,
I have so many. I'll probably. Oh my god.
list a bunch and then give the story of one.
Okay.
We can fill this episode with nostalgia all we want.
I was gonna
Yeah, that's
say
so
that's
fair.
true. I only
Just
put
like-
one out there because I always just over explain everything. So
You were talking about computer games, and I just remember I played I like the second we got a computer, it was like all day long.
Yeah.
That was me, just ready to go. My mom's like, I have a life, I have friends, and I'm like, I'm
I
on
have a
Sesame
compu-
Street right now. So
I have a computer. You can leave.
I'm on the internet.
I'm on the internet. I remember Neopets. Did you guys have a Neopets account?
I never got big in the Neopets.
My Scene. Did you do My Scene, or like the ones where you would do like the Barbie's nails?
So I had the Barbie's nail game where
Yeah.
and then you could print them out on stickers. Yeah, I had that. Yeah.
We had a lot of
Big
cool
deal.
stuff. So for one of my birthdays, every birthday we would go to Spaghetti Warehouse. Like
Okay.
that was like the fanciest thing to exist in my childhood world. Not that Spaghetti Warehouse isn't fancy. I still think it's really cool. But I really wanted, I don't know if you ever saw this. There was a commercial, and you know when you're a kid and a commercial's on and you're like, this
I
commercial's
need
for me.
this.
They made that for me. Yeah, I have to have
FRE,
it.
That spells free.
Creditreport.com, baby.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I like that.
Yeah.
That
Core
distracted you
memories.
so much. You were like, yeah.
Creditreport.com.
Forgot about the story I was telling.
I do. What was
Commercial.
it?
You were talking about
Commercial.
commercials.
You were saying that you felt like a commercial was literally made for
Okay,
you.
yes.
Yes.
There was a game called Dream Life. And it was essentially The Sims, but it was within this like controller. Like the controller had the
Like a
game inside of
Tamagotchi?
it. Kind of, yeah, but you would hook it into your computer.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say I was like 10 maybe. And my dad kept telling me like, I couldn't find it anywhere. And I believed him because when you see the commercial, you're like, oh my God, this is so out of my reach. I want it so bad, but it's on a commercial. You're not even seeing it in stores. So he's like, I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm so sorry. I just got you a cake for your birthday. Maybe we'll like go shopping when we leave Spaghetti Warehouse. Well, I was with my grandma at Spaghetti Warehouse and I was holding my cake, as one does. This is a little bit full circle because we talked about cakes earlier.
We did.
And my grandma was older, so at Spaghetti Warehouse, there was 4 steps and then an elevator for those 4 steps, right? Like a little just like takes you up for people in like wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Oh boy.
And I was like, I really want to go on the elevator. And she was like, you can, but just like really hold on to your cake if you're going to like separate from your dad because he's going to go on the stairs. We're not all going to get on this little 4 people, like literally it's like 4 stairs. And I like go to step in the elevator and my cake just like goes face first on the thing.
Wow.
So I thought that was my birthday present was my cake. But I did get Dream Life and I played the shit out of that. And I still think about Dream Life every day.
Man.
And Ross is going to tell us that we're not even recording. Are you turning me up?
What? I was turning my headphones up.
Oh,
so I could hear your story better.
yes. And yeah, so I got Dream Life and I still think about Dream Life like to this day. It is funny to think about now because in it, you just like go to high school, you sit in class and then you go home and do your chores and you can like get a job. Like it's funny because it's all the stuff that I do not want to do now, but I was like, please let me do chores in here.
Let me just control someone else's chores in their life. Yeah.
And then to follow up your trying to run away, I lived in a really small town when I was younger. I don't know how much we've talked about Asheville because we mainly talked about Obetz as far as like middle school and up, but Asheville is very walkable. And I had a friend that lived over the railroad tracks, which meant like it was like the longest walk you could take in town. And I went to leave her house and I just didn't know where I was because my mom never let me walk that far. And I was very young and I hitchhiked. I did put my thumb out and I was crying.
Wow.
And a teacher picked me up, thankfully, and she was like, don't ever do this again.
Nice.
Wow.
Like, you can't do this. And she was like, do I need to talk to your mom? And I was like, no. And when I got home, my mom didn't know that I went that far to be lost. So I just like walked through the door, just like belligerently crying. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I just love you so much. Like, she thinks I'm like down the street playing basketball. And then I just come home with this epiphany.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
It was scary.
Incredible. I'll start with an oddly at the time that was negative but is burned into my brain. So at my school, I don't know if you guys had this hole punches. Did you have hole punches?
Yeah.
So like the whole, if you do something bad, you get a hole punch in your thing.
Oh yeah, like a
right?
red card, green card thing.
Yes.
I didn't have that.
Okay.
They literally would write your name on the board if you were bad so that everyone knew.
Mine was like that, but there was like a board with everybody has these little cards and like you would get a hole punch in it if
ours would be
did
like
something
red,
wrong.
yellow, green, and it'd be like, I'm switching you to yellow. You better get your shit together.
We had versions of that,
Yeah.
but then somehow a hole punch got added in. I don't know what it was. I never had a hole punch ever. And this is only like 3rd or 4th grade. So like when I say ever, it's only been a handful of years. Enough. But in my brain at that point in time, I'm like, oh my God, I've never had one. I will never have one. I'm a good kid, blah, blah, blah. And then there was like some group thing, like, I don't know if it was picture day or something, but like we were in the gymnasium and we're all just like sitting on like the stage, like the theater stage, waiting. Cause it was like, all right, after you're done with this, go over here and wait. And we were sitting there and like some rowdier kids like started like sliding around, chasing each other on the stage. And I just happened to be sitting near them. And I slid over and like giggled with them. And that's when the teacher saw everybody and was like, all of you get a hole punch. I was devastated. I remember like being upset, crying to my parents. I'm like, oh my God, I got a hole punch. My life is over. And they like actually kind of thought it was hilarious. They were like,
it kind of feels like at that time, it's like when they tell you like this is going on your permanent record. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Like any of it actually
just
matters.
Just put me in the fucking handcuffs now.
Yeah, literally. Just like put me away. Put me in the cell. It's over. So yeah, I remember my parents were like, they literally like laughed. They were
I just think it's so funny that you're like, and I just scooted over and giggled.
Dude, I did. I literally
like you genuinely weren't a part of it.
I was so concerned with like being a nice child and a good child and just well behaved. And I'm not saying I was all the time, but in this instance, I literally was just sitting near them. There were some friends and they were rowdy. I distinctly remember, it's in my brain. I just like scooted with them and the teacher was like, so you're all just gonna scoot your little asses around, scoot into a fucking hole punch, bitch. And then I'm like, oh my
You're
God.
like, and
my
that's
life
what
is
she
over.
said to me. Scoot into a hole punch, bitch.
Yes, and she was gonna hole punch our hand, but the principal walked in and said,
Yeah.
do the paper, just hole punch
You
the
know
paper.
what?
It's fine.
They've learned their lesson.
Yes. And then it's not necessarily one particular, but one thing that does pop out in my mind is the summers off school. One of my absolute favorite things was waking up early certain days of the week and getting to go yard sailing all day.
That's what Winry's favorite thing is to do right now.
Yes, with my grandparents or my grandma, and even my stepmom was a part of these positive memories at that point in time, believe it or not.
Wow.
That is something, like, when I think about it, it gives me like this feeling that I'm like, I don't know how to feel that again.
It's the fresh air first thing in the morning. Surprise.
Yes. And it was the joy of like,
Do you remember the crisp?
And you might find something. Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, the crisp feeling of like the air on the first day of school when you're standing at the bus stop.
Yes.
It's like
Vividly.
Yeah.
it's like the sun is up, but like kind of still down.
Your face is cold, but your body's fine.
Yeah.
And like the nerves and excitement
There's
of like,
there's like dew on the grass
Yeah.
still. It's a little frosty, but like you're like, oh, but it's still summer, isn't it? And it's like
Yeah.
just starting to cool down. Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
your new outfit on. You've got your backpack. Everything smells new. Everything kind of smells like
Ooh,
a
yeah.
razor.
and you're stoked to get all of your new pencils out and all
Yes.
your new erasers and
Yes.
folders and like can't wait to show
Somehow
somebody
there's
your-
a kid at school that already has everything crinkled up.
Yeah.
Like there was always
Yeah.
that one kid that came in and their folder was already like
the book bag is like open.
they're
when
already
they sit
dumping their
down.
backpack
Yeah.
on the desk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the real the childhood thing. And just
Yeah.
all just like cartoons.
You
Just
unlocked
fucking
one for me.
cartoons.
You unlocked one for me. I remember being in the second grade and we were making Mother's Day cards and this kid looked over and he's like, that looks really bad. And I said, I will kill you. And he literally went and he was like, no, and he
said,
literally
"Yeah,
got up
you
and
heard it first. I'm a witch.
yeah, he literally went up and told the teacher on me. And then the teacher comes over and she's like, what did you say? And I was like, well, I just said, well, she pulled me aside. I was like, I said, well, my sisters taught me karate and like, so like, and then she brought over some other kid from the table and he goes, she goes, what did she say? He goes, she said that, if he didn't shut up, she would kill him. And so she goes, okay, I have to tell the principal. And I was like, oh. And I was like,
didn't
again,
mean
like
it
just
when I
like
threatened his
yeah,
life.
that was just something that like my sisters and I
That's
would
so
say
good.
that stuff to each other all the time, just like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, like that kind of thing. And I literally skipped school the next day.
Yeah, that's traumatizing.
I faked sick,
That's
and then
fair.
I still had to go to the principal the day after, though.
Damn.
Okay.
And I was like, he was like, all right, so tell me what happened. And I was like, he was making fun of my Mother's Day card. I just like, I had never gone to the principal's office. I had never been in trouble before. And this kid was like always in the principal's office.
Yeah, he
like,
was just
always getting in trouble.
getting on your
and
nerves.
he
Little
knew,
bitch.
but he knew that I would get in trouble for what I said,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
he knew I'm in second grade. I'm a second grade girl. I'm not going to kill anybody.
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to do shit. But
I
yeah.
remember one time, so before I had glasses,
Yeah.
I needed them and would squint all the time. I couldn't see anything on the board. So I was giving myself
How
headaches.
old were you
all
when
the-
you got glasses?
Oh, 7th or 8th grade. It was a while.
Oh, okay.
It was a while. And I didn't wear them for the longest time either because I was like,
Isn't that
fucking-
crazy? Like I think I didn't get glasses I wore every day until like freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah. Well, I didn't embrace glasses until adulthood. So I had glasses even before that, but I was like, I'm not a fucking nerd. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm a nerd. But I remember, this isn't like a crazy thing, but because I would have headaches all the time, I would have headaches like every day. I would always go to the nurse's office, and rather than like figuring out what was wrong with me, the nurse was like, you're a liar. The nurse literally was like, I need you to go home and ask your mom to tell you the story of the boy who cried wolf. And I was like,
That's not nice.
and literally I was like, oh, okay. What do I do about my headache? And she's like, you just go back to class. And like, so I just like would have headaches because
my
I
mom
needed
would
glasses.
beat the fuck
my
out. I'm
God.
sorry. My mom would have a stern talking to with that nurse.
I can't remember if
She
mine
would have
did or
killed
not,
her.
but
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, let me change my words.
Yeah.
I
It's a
remember
threat now, apparently.
telling my parent, and they were pretty upset with this nurse who did that. And I think they might have talked about it because, again, small town. It's like,
And it never
you.
goes anywhere. Like, you can say it, and then the school's like, I'm so sorry, and that's it.
But yeah, I remember that.
Did you guys have, this is one of my biggest childhood core memories. I think it was in 4th or 5th grade, where each of you choose a job, and then you bring whatever you need to do that job to school. And all year you've made money, like paper money. Did you guys do this?
No.
So you would get paper money for like being on time or like answering a question or something. Like your teachers kind of decided when they could give you like these dollars.
Oh,
Interesting.
For like weeks before this event. And then the whole school would get these dollars, but only the 4th grade, I think it was 4th grade. I'm going to say 5th. Not that it matters for any of this, but only the 5th grade would be the people actually in charge of the jobs. So my job was I brought all the colored hairsprays to school, and I would like color girls' hair. And then there was like nail polish stations, Guitar Hero, Just Dance.
Okay, this sounds way more fun than my school.
A snack, like a snack bar, like, someone's parents went to like Costco and got all the things, and then you could go buy a snack thing and you would run the things. You guys didn't have that?
No.
I know this sounds hilarious, but probably in the top like 5 of the best days of my life. To walk around your school and just get to like do all adult things with your friends and like genuinely pay for things that you worked to get this money for.
That's fun.
sounds
It was
awesome.
so fun.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, my school, I don't
They were
remember
just giving
ever
you hole
having-
punches.
Do more of that.
Yeah, I was just getting hole punches.
You want
for-
$1, you're getting a hole punch.
Hole punches and headaches. That's my
Yeah, that's your childhood.
that's my childhood. Hole punches and headaches. That's
man.
all I got. Also, this is unrelated, but related to being a child. Do you remember how fun it was, the build up and hype of a new episode of a cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and how the channels would just like hype it up perfectly,
Yes.
and you're like so excited.
And then it's on repeat for the next like week.
Yeah, you
after
watch
comes
it
out.
every single day. Or when they did like Disney would do like crossover episodes, Sweet Life on Deck with like Hannah Montana or something like that.
I remember when Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner had their crossover, and I
yeah.
was like, this
This
is
is a game changer.
incredible. The Jetsons and the Flintstones, that happened technically before, I was like watching it, but like getting to see that,
Yeah.
insane.
And like you said, those like Christmas or like Halloween episodes,
so good.
it just was like a warm hug.
Yes.
I think a lot of childhood memories for me are like just like TV and things like that too, because I think one of the biggest things for me in my childhood was both my parents worked, but I had 2 older sisters, and one was in junior high. She was definitely of like babysitting age. But what we would do was we would come home, we'd get off the bus, we'd go inside, we'd make a giant bowl of cereal, and we would sit our asses down in front of the TV, and we would watch Dragon Ball Z or whatever the heck. And as soon as we heard that garage door opening, we were like, and we would run, and we would just clean out our bowls and go and sit down and pretend we were doing our homework the whole time, so that they
That's
didn't know that
amazing.
we had like spoiled our dinner.
Talk about what were you gonna say?
We're not talking about whatever you want to talk about. My shows, like when you got home from school, my shows were, I didn't have cable. Malcolm in the Middle was my shit. I loved Malcolm in the Middle. The Simpsons. And then, is it PBS that does like Cyber Chase?
Maybe that sounds accurate.
Do you know what Cyber Chase is?
No.
Vaguely.
It was like a math/science cartoon where they would like to solve mysteries. It was almost like a very sciencey, like Scooby-Doo without the dog, kind
Okay.
of. I actually think that there's a Scooby-Doo Cyber Chase movie. I don't think it's actually connected, but it's like the same thing. But those were the things that I would just come home. I would know at what time things were coming on.
Yeah, you knew the order of the shows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You'd
yeah.
be like,
It was
oh,
just
well, I have to watch
beautiful.
this episode of this because it comes on before that.
And don't touch the remote because I know it's on a commercial, but this is what I'm watching, and I'll be right back. I'll take the remote to piss
the
with me if
commercials
I
were
have
part
to.
of it, though. Like, we used to
Yeah.
hate it back then, but now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like, I remember these commercials that had, like, the, like, Chips Ahoy commercial and, like, just the
The
random...
Keebler Elves, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yup.
yeah, Chester, the Cheetos.
Tony the Tiger's
Cheetos.
still employed on
Hey,
the commercials.
Tony.
We like the things you do.
Hey, Tony!
If I could, I would be you. You're the one and only tiger with the one and only taste.
You know how to take a breakfast and make it
Great.
Frosted Flakes.
Are more than good.
They're great!
Great.
Great.
Oh my
Come on,
gosh.
kids, get into my. There was an extended cut that goes a little
And then-
further. And,
So scary. Mascots.
oh, so scary.
Mascots are scary. Okay, how are you gonna tell me that something that's that like, it's a person in a whole suit made of like fur? Why are your hands clammy?
Ew, yeah, you're so
Why are
right.
their hands clammy?
That's very fair. I haven't
it takes
interacted
on
with
a
many
different
mascots. but
entity when it's a mascot.
I
Well,
love
there's-
seeing. This
I
is a
think we've
now
talked
thing,
about
but
we talked about mascots on here before.
Yeah,
feel like we
because
have.
mascots are in the same with like my mannequin statue.
Oh, yeah.
I like
that's
seeing
right.
mascots eat people. You ever seen mascots
Oh,
do that?
where they like have like the big mouth.
they have a
thing.
big mouth and they devour someone, and sometimes they'll shoot out a skeleton they have inside, and it's amazing.
that's-
It's
I've
so much
never
fun.
seen a skeleton part, but
I-
I have seen like it's like one of those inflatable suits instead
Yes.
of like the.
And they have a
fur.
big enough thing that like they just like lean it over somebody and like swallow them whole.
That's
It's like a
and
slinky, and it's just like.
It's actually incredible. I also loved the TV show. Like the TV show thing made me think of this. Like as I got slightly older, coming home and watching Boy Meets World was like
Yeah.
the
Boy Meets
shit.
World was definitely a good
I mean,
one.
that definitely at that time I think I was doing like Lizzie McGuire. I'm my dad's because that was on Disney.
Here's a question, general question for this: what cartoon, like, channel was your association with most heavily? Were you a Disney person, Cartoon Network, or Nickelodeon, or
Oh man.
a secret fourth thing? Because I know you said for like you didn't have
Like,
cable
yeah,
for a
yeah,
while.
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like,
stuff.
Well, we spent like weekends and lots of like summer weeks at my dad's. My mom was a cartoon, like she would buy the Scooby movies. That's how I saw like Scooby, or we would watch it at my grandma and grandpa's. My dad's house was like all Disney Channel.
okay.
And then Nickelodeon, I feel like I had some love for, but it was mainly like once I got honestly a little bit older and had younger siblings that they would watch Nickelodeon and then I was around for it.
Okay. Leah?
That's difficult because I literally remember like when I had cable, Nickelodeon was 47, Cartoon Network was 57, and Disney Channel was 6. Like those were the numbers.
Interesting.
Yeah, like
I
and I
what mine
remember
was.
I would specifically check every channel to see which show was on that I cared
Yeah,
about.
that's kind of how
Yeah.
I was too. Like I wasn't like loyal. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't
I
like
was-
I'm gonna watch this shitty thing because it's on Disney.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was definitely a surfer between all of them. More mainly Cartoon Network. The close second was Nickelodeon. Kind of a distant third was Disney, to be honest.
I think most guys, for whatever reason, like the Disney Channel shows tended to lean a little
It was
bit
all
more
for
feminine.
girls at that time.
Yeah, there
I did love
wasn't like a
Motocrossed.
ton.
Remember that one where she acts like she's a dude, wins the dirt bike race.
That's a
and-
movie.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
Disney
that's a,
Channel
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a,
yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
Disney Channel original movies were
Stuck in the Suburbs.
Yeah, there were so many of those that were just like a mood.
It was convenient for me because my channels after a while when I was really young they were different,
Yes,
but mine were 35, 36, 37.
That's what I
Oh,
think.
nice.
Disney was
Well, I
35,
also- I
Cartoon
was in
Network
Cleveland.
36, and then Nickelodeon was 37. And so it was super easy to like before
back
that,
and
I want to see Disney was 35 forever. Nickelodeon was 23 when I was really young, and Cartoon Network was 68.
okay.
And then it later became 35, 36, 37. So it was super easy for me to just surf to
Yeah.
like what is happening here?
Okay, what were your? Please don't call these. What were your childhood phone numbers for your landlines? Mine doesn't exist anymore.
I can only remember like 740-983. That's all I can remember.
Mine was 982. 740-982. Oh. I remember my grandma's. But I don't remember.
You
Mine
remember
was
I don't
I lived in the 440. I was in the Cleveland. So mine was 440-946-4096.
Yeah, I don't.
And that was like my childhood landline. Like I remember
Yeah.
calling that number at my friend's house, like from my friend's house to tell my mom I got to my friend's house.
Yeah, I only remember my grandma's for some
I can
reason.
yeah, I can remember my mom's like work number and her like
Yeah.
whatever I had to put in to be
So
like,
that you could
hello,
talk
is
to her.
Amy there? Yeah.
I'd go, Janet Stenger, please. I would call the number.
It is crazy to think about because when I was working and Zach would need something, I'm like, you got to figure it out. I'm at work. I called my mom every 5
Oh,
minutes. Can I
all the
have this
time.
Debbie cake?
Right?
Brayden took the remote. Whatever, like the next
Yeah.
thing is just like all day. And
For
I'm
me,
like,
it was
is Amy there?
it was calling somebody to come pick me up from school when I had a headache.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like calling their work and trying to get the hey.
And your mom's
is
like,
it-
ever heard of Boy Who Cried Wolf?
Yeah, you need to go to the nurse and ask her to tell you the story of the book.
Ever heard of ibuprofen?
Okay, what about Goosebumps? Do you remember watching Goosebumps as a kid, or is that something that you like kind of
No, that was definitely a childhood thing. That was one of the afternoon shows. Like Come Home, it was on at like 3:30.
Yeah,
like
I think that was something that like I watched. I swear something that I watched like at my dad's when there wasn't like a parent around. They were just like, this is gonna, because I do it to my kids now, not with Goosebumps, just whatever. I'm like, oh, they're really watching this, and so I remember watching something that like really scarred me,
Yeah.
and I still love
I
them,
wasn't
though.
allowed. My sister got so freaked out by the pool episode of Goosebumps that I wasn't allowed to
with
watch
the red
it.
skeleton that comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary normally.
See,
yeah.
yeah,
that is-
The Mask just always got me.
I don't know if there was a Goosebumps. I loved Slappy because
And
I was
Slappy,
I was
I still love
simultaneously, for some reason, able to also watch real horror movies growing up. Slappy was closest to Chucky in that universe, so
Yeah.
I was like, Slappy's
But
Slappy's
Slappy
Chucky.
is
Like,
still
let's
like, of course, the writing on
Never
that is
watched it.
Slappy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched
Night of the Living
go.
Dummy.
Night of the Living Dummy.
I mean, you should go home and watch it.
Oh, okay.
They're
You
fun.
should.
They're
They are fun.
It's a show?
It's
It's the Goosebumps
Goosebumps
episodes.
Yeah, it's part of Goosebumps.
Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, I missed out on Goosebumps a lot because by the
Okay,
time
yeah.
I was old enough and was like allowed to watch it, I was like, I don't want to watch this.
Got-
Well, one,
Gotcha.
Disney is coming out with its own Goosebumps show.
I saw
so
that.
hopefully that's really good. But the cool thing about Goosebumps that I remember from as a child is that there's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like that's always just that part is what's so scary to me is like there's always almost a happy ending where the kids are like, okay, we lived through that, let's go back to school, and then they get like back onto the bus with like Slappy or something. Like
yeah, it
he's like,
zooms out and you find
yeah.
out they're action figures
He's
in a
like,
toy
and
van.
he's
Yes.
like, he's like driving the bus. or
Where
something.
to, kids? Ah, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
That makes another core memory TV show for me is Whose Lines It Anyway?
I do
don't
remember watching
say.
that.
Which shocker, right? Yeah, I'm
think-
yes.
surprised.
I think I remember telling you guys this because I'm such a nerd. When I was a kid, one of my favorite, like, I watched TLC, so I would watch Trading Spaces or While You Were Out, and I thought it was so cool to like watch
Wife
people's.
swap.
Oh, see, that one I didn't really watch a whole lot of as a child, but I feel like I remember being 10 years old and my sister was like, I want my own room. And my parents put me into what was then the computer room, and they were like, all right, we need to like turn this into an actual bedroom. And I was like, can we do it like While You Were Out and you guys like decorate it and I don't get to see it till
that's
it's
so
done?
magical.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was like a core memory for me too, was like, oh my God, I loved this show. And so now like I get to have my own version of this show or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say if I don't mention pro wrestling in any of this, like that was the
Yeah.
vast majority of my core memories as growing up as a
Yeah.
child of things that I just loved and
And
spent.
turned you into like it's a core memory. I still think about it daily type of thing.
Yeah, and just like the vast amount of time that I spent playing with
Oh,
action
yeah.
figures, playing the video games, watching it on TV. Like,
Yeah.
during the summer, I remember one of the hardest things was like when I would have baseball practice, and they would run late since it's daylight out longer in the summer. 9 o'clock on a Monday, I'm like, let's fucking wrap this shit up.
I got places to be.
I have places to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd be like getting home late to watch wrestling because of fucking baseball.
Yeah.
Something I also remembered as one of my like negative core memories is watching Butterfly Effect as a child.
I loved that movie. I had the biggest crush on the boy in that movie.
Ashton Kutcher.
No, the one that was like when I was a teenager, he was a teenager.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie scarred me. I just remember like I watched it. I remember I watched it with my dad and stepmom, and they kept trying to make me leave the room for like inappropriate scenes. And then there would be like the fucking mailbox scene, and they'd be like, "You should just sit right there. You're fine."
Just hang out. We'll be all right.
And it just scarred me.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely movies where like I remember like there were adult channels that we were not supposed to get on, like watch or whatever. And I remember like Little Monsters was on TV, and that's that movie with like Howie Mandel and Ben Savage was like the kid in it, and it's like he becomes friends.
Fergie's in
with-
there. Is Fergie in that movie?
I don't think so.
Okay, carry on.
I don't remember that.
It's kind of an older one, but it looked like a kid's movie because I was like, oh, this just looks like a guy like dressed up into whatever. So I like, I get onto this channel and I'm like, well, I know I'm not supposed to watch this channel, but this looks like it's a movie for kids. And it scared the shit out of me. I don't know why. I think it was just solely because like these people were dressed up like monsters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Well, and you kind of already knew you weren't supposed to be watching it.
Exactly.
In the same vein as that, I do not, I wish, I pray. I've tried to Google this before. My mom had a bottle of wine in our fridge and we had like no juice, no, like nothing for me to drink. I was like literally like 6 or 7, like just learned to read. I know I was old enough to read, but not old enough to like understand anything else. And the wine bottle, I swear to God, in like a little cursive like sentence said, I'm not making this up. Give to good kids. And I remember being so thirsty and being like, I'm a good kid.
Oh my
Amazing.
God.
And of course, it was like the worst thing I had ever tasted at the time because I was so young. But I vividly remember being like, this says give to good kids, and this is not for kids. And now I'll never know if this wine bottle, if it was like a cheeky thing. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Because they could definitely, you would never write it now.
Maybe it was like a good cause for kids or something.
Yeah, something like that.
It
And
was like, oh,
I chose to read it however I wanted.
Yeah, like it was like something where you were like, oh,
I was
yeah,
like,
this is
why'd
for me.
you tell me not to drink this? This is for good kids.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
I don't.
gosh.
I don't have one to immediately present, but we started to talk about like
Yeah.
the teenage years core memories. Like, is there anything specific? Have you already said what you feel like yours would be?
Moving
Or-
into teenage years.
Because like, I mean, we started talking. I mean, because like
I've been like 11 and under so far.
Yeah.
mine
same.
has started to dip into like 12, 13. So like I was
Okay.
kind of like, because like when I was really caring about Boy Meets World, I was like
Yeah.
11, 12, like something like that.
Yeah. I feel like I know like right off the bat, I feel like when I hit those like teenage, like turning into a teenager, like kind of years, I had more negative core thoughts that like stuck with me just because of the time. I remember that was the age where like I was always close with my cousins growing up, but I remember going to my friend or my cousin's friend's house with her to go swimming in her friend's swimming pool. And I remember just like sitting there being like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, I'm just sitting here hanging out with these older kids, you know, whatever. And I was trying really hard to just like fit in. And I remember going to the bathroom and coming back and overhearing them talking about how annoying I was. And you know, when
Damn.
you're like a kid and you're just like have high energy and you are annoying and something just like hits you one day where you're just like, oh shit, like people think of me. People think things about me. And I thought that me being me was like cool and like whatever. And now I realize like I have to tone me down to make me easier to like swallow basically, you
Right.
know, for other people.
In the same vein as that, because I moved schools like in 5th grade, right on the cusp of being a teenager, I spent the whole like, you know, 11 years prior to that with all the same kids.
Yeah.
And then they all stayed together when I went to a different school. And this was like MySpace times. And I remember being like 13 or 14. I want to say I was 12 or 13, but I remember like finding like a whole bunch of the girls on MySpace and adding them and being so excited because we were exciting little kids that hung out together. And I thought like I just brought the same energy as like I did then. And I had messaged this girl like 2 or 3 times. And then I think I ended up messaging her and being like, hey, like, is everything okay? Because I hadn't made friends at my new school yet. So I was like, oh my God, yeah, I can just talk to my old friends and this is fine. And she literally messaged me back and was like, yeah, I didn't reply because you were getting on my nerves. And that stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
Like she literally was like, I didn't reply because you like wouldn't leave me alone. And it was just like one of those things where I wasn't being self-aware. I probably was being a little bit annoying, but I do think that she could have handled it better.
Yeah.
Because it is a core memory. I am 28 talking
Yeah.
about it.
But can you imagine like nowadays, like if somebody did that, like I feel like like there are plenty of times where I'll get like a message from somebody where I'm like, okay, this could have ended after this conversation, and
Right.
I don't necessarily need for this to keep going because I have other things I need to be thinking about or taking care of. But I'd never just be like, you're annoying.
Yeah.
That's
Like, that's,
literally
like-
what she said. She was like, if you, I swear to God, she said like, if you want me to be honest with you, it's because you're annoying.
Damn. Yeah, and that's
And I was
hard.
like,
Like,
"Oh, don't."
making the transition from like being a kid to being a teenager where you care about what other people think of
Mm-hmm.
you and realizing that other people do think things of you that are not necessarily positive.
Right.
Because I think that like during that time in your life, a lot of what you're thinking about is what are other people thinking about.
And I think that I swear to God, that was like the catalyst of me being aware of other people, like having any opinion about me. I don't think I ever was presented with that prior to that.
No, that's exactly, like, I feel like there are so many times in like your like middle school life where like somebody just like crushes that little light that you have, and then the whole rest of middle school is being like, okay, I just want to blend in so that I don't get that again. And then it's like once you graduate high school, it's like trying to relight that flame that somebody else like put out.
One of my main core memories of being a teenager is every like big video game release, and like how people used to go and like line up at the GameStop, and you'd see other friends in the thing, and you're like, oh you're getting it too, and like the excitement of all of that.
Seeing Twilight.
Or going to a movie,
both of those things.
I have this distinct memory of one of the times that the new Call of Duty Zombies maps were coming out. Myself and my core group of friends, I don't even know like how we did it or how it even played out, but there was 6 of us. We all split off into groups of 2, and like we all like met up early in the day, like had lunch, hung out, did whatever, and then later that night we were like, all right, we're all splitting off into teams of 2 and going to someone's house, and then we're all going to get online and we're going to play it and experience the map. I just remember that whole day, just like the excitement of like getting the map and then downloading it and then waiting for it to download, and being like, all right, we got to go. And then
you guys were kids creating this plan. Like, that's so fun.
Right. And it's like, obviously, we could drive and stuff like that, but it's like we're sitting and we're like, all right, yes, this is what our day is like out of this excitement of experiencing this thing.
Oh yeah.
And there was just something about like all of us going in teams of 2 and all like, we're at this house, these people at this house, that person, and then like we're jumping online and all like playing with each other.
Well, because it was like the amount of effort that you put in for that to be like, oh, this is something that we're doing and we are organizing it like this.
Right.
Like it was a big deal.
Yeah. For some reason that sticks out to me as like such a fun day.
I remember the same thing when Twilight, the movies came out, but back when I was in middle school was when the books were still coming out. And so I had a countdown in my AIM buddy profile for like when the books were coming out, and like quotes from the book, and everything was like the colors of like those books.
That
and
was
everything.
a movement for teenage girls.
It was everything. Twilight was so like captivating as like a girl that was like just starting to be like interested in love and stuff, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's a vampire out there for me somewhere,
So true.
But I feel like another like good core memory of being a teenager for me was episodes of, we were talking about episodes of TV coming out, because this is before you could just stream stuff. Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't just put on what you wanted.
Yes. Watching Degrassi. My friends would come over and we would watch Degrassi, and I remember there was like this one, I don't know if it was a finale or if it was the season premiere of Degrassi, and we had like a box of those like frozen mini eclairs, and we just like sat at my house and like watched Degrassi and ate those and cried when JT died, and I stopped watching it after that. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me and my friend used to have a Jake Gyllenhaal day where we would just watch a Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Oh my gosh, that's so
amazing.
funny.
That
we were
is
like,
incredible.
it's a Jake Gyllenhaal day.
So how does this translate in? Do we want to do like so far adulthood core memory? Like, is that like too fresh? Is that stuff we've already talked about on the podcast?
I mean,
like,
possibly.
It's going to be a little bit, I mean.
I'd have to think, sort of.
I did have 2 babies, so I have a couple core memories.
Yeah.
See, that's the hard part, is like
how core is core.
Yeah, because like that's like clearly that's core. Why would you not talk about that?
Yeah.
But then it's like, what else is core? And also, to be honest, like negative core memories as an adult, we have already covered on this podcast before. You know what I mean? Like it's stuff we've already shared, like in that sense. So like, unless there's like a random like fun thing that's like
the
rug.
Yeah, that's a core memory for me.
That's a pretty good
I need to hear it now.
Have we never told you the rug story? So
no.
Oh, so you told her.
I see how this is going.
So you guys have a secret story that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell it, or do you want me to tell it?
You tell it. But then
But
I'll
is
probably
this-
interrupt you and then
tell it
say,
right.
Yeah.
She was pregnant with Winry,
Okay.
and this was at her and Zach's like previous apartment here in Columbus. I was over there, and we were all like hunkering down to watch a movie. I can't remember like if we had. Do we have those like little cookies or what? We had something.
Yeah, we sure did. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm not kidding, like Chipotle on the lap. We've got our drinks. The lights are off.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
We've
the
got the
tone is
cookie
set. We're about
plate.
to start a movie. I don't even remember what the movie was. It Final Girls?
It might have been. It was a spooky movie. It was in
Yeah.
October.
Either way,
Okay.
we're all settling in. Zach's in his chair. Brittany's got her and her bump over on this,
I'm like days away from giving
Oh
birth.
my gosh.
which is dangerous for the reason you're about to find out. This baby could have popped out at any moment. So I'm like going to get on the couch and like the what do you call that? The thing you kick out to like put your legs on.
The recliner.
The
It was like a
yes.
couch where it's like 2 or 3 chairs that recline.
Oh,
like a
yes.
movie theater
Okay.
couch, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I was like just trying to like step over, get up above the recliner and then just like sink into the chair. And as I'm doing this, like they have like wood floors, like laminate floors. And like as I'm going up on the couch, I didn't even do it aggressively. As you can see, she is in tears. This is a very core memory. My leg, like in the rug that is under me, just slips. And none of it's like chaotic, but chaos was created because like I'm casually trying to get on the couch. My leg slips. The rug begins
The
to
whole
slip.
table is now across the room.
Then the whole like coffee table and all this sort of stuff just like slides with the rug just enough to bang into the TV stand, just enough to knock this like candle
The
thing off.
Cincy over.
And like literally just like it's just
all over the wall from across the room.
Literally, it's just this is literally, and I know if you're only listening, you can't visually see this, but the visual was this slow. It was just, and then on the other side.
Like my ceiling collapsed
Basically, everything just gets destroyed. I'm just like frozen, like one leg, like
because like he could have just like sat down like a person. He was like, let me climb onto the couch.
and the rug. I didn't know the rug was the slipperiest rug in the
Oh my
world. So
God.
she's laughing this hard, trying to
I did
not push a
breath.
baby out.
I did not breathe. I did not breathe for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, everyone laughed
good
real hard.
I was thinking about, and this might not be appropriate. We might get canceled for this. No shame to this lady. I'm going to talk about Horror Hound really quick.
The boobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we were pulling into Horror Hound, which was a horror convention. We're literally finding parking. So we're not in the convention or anything. Ross is in the front seat with Zach. And a lady with like the biggest boobs you've ever seen. And when I say that, I mean this big.
Oh my gosh.
And I really do mean it. And her butt's the same size and her lips are the same size as this. And she's like has like a TV show, like it's a thing.
Oh.
But we are just in the parking lot. We're not prepared to see anomalies right now. And Ross goes, "That is not okay."
It was so shocking. I don't actually care. But we turn the corner and I go,
Literally in shock.
And then
Which
we're
is,
all
like,
in shock.
fair because it was like a person, but like also out in like multiple different ways.
yeah, it was, we literally just turned a corner and just like literally just the
They
biggest
bounced
boobs.
off of the car.
Yeah, basically. If we would have hit her, the car would have went, woo.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
We would have been gone.
100%. To the moon we would have went. Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Oh, good times, good times.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of like a good adult core memory. I feel like we've talked a lot about like our adult core memories. I think just
Yeah.
like
We talked a lot about traumas and big events, but there's something in there about like, you know, I would say there's probably something within horror that you're gonna be like, that's a core memory. Like that is.
Yeah, I mean, probably, I have a core memory with my friend Aaron. We went and watched Interstellar together, and he had already watched it, and he was like, oh my God, it's fucking incredible. I was like, well, I want to go. And no one else could go. And he's like, I'll go again with you. And we went, and he was like, you're probably going to cry. And I was like, oh man, let's find out. And it's a fun thing because, you know, there's different moments in the movie that make you cry. But then at the end of it, I have this distinct, like it is a core memory of the movie ends, and I'm sitting there with like tears rolling down my face, and I turn and I look at him, and he has tears rolling down his face, and he goes, I told you. And so we just got to like share that
Yeah.
moment of
Yes.
like he experienced it for the second time, but was
Yeah.
there with me to experience it for the first time, and we're both like in tears, just
Yeah.
like, wow, what an incredible movie.
There are I think a lot of moments in adulthood that are core memories are like experiencing other people experiencing things for the first time too. Things that you already know and love. Like watching Nick watch Harry Potter for the first time was incredible.
I bet that would be so fun.
Yeah. You guys have seen Harry Potter, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not like a Harry Potter like
Not a
person.
Potterhead?
I'm not a Potterhead, but I have seen the movies, yes.
Okay. Well, he had never seen any of them. He had never read any of the books. He was very like, his ex was very into it, and he was very into Star Wars, and they used to just battle over which was better, even though she'd never watched Star Wars and he had never watched Harry Potter. And so I was like, well, I said something about Harry Potter, and he just goes, yeah, I don't know, I've never watched them. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, how have you avoided them for this long?
None of them.
They're
Yeah,
on-
at your ripe age.
Yeah, I'm like it's the holidays, it's on sci-fi every day.
It's
like
a Christmas movie.
yeah,
What do
I'm
you
like,
mean?
yeah. So he's like, yeah, I don't know, I just never. And I was like, we're gonna watch them because you just need to be aware.
Yeah.
Of like, because this is something that I super
This
and
is
like
culture.
Yeah, I'm like, this is something I super like grew up with and like I think is like important to my
Yes.
know, upbringing and childhood and stuff, because like we like read these books and watched these movies and they were coming out as we were that age or whatever, and watching him watch these movies was like so surreal because like he would be like Dumbledore dies and he goes, well, that's not supposed to happen. He's gonna come back, right? I'm like, this I was like, no, like this isn't Lord of the Rings. That's not how this works or
Right.
whatever. So it was just like wild, like watching him experience them for the first time was a core memory for me for sure, because
Yes.
it was like, oh, I'm watching you like experience things that I experienced the
It's like
first time
yeah.
too.
It's like tapping into like the inner kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And just in general, I feel like there's stuff like, I don't know, core memories a lot of the time have to do with like the people that, like, you guys have the rug memory that I wasn't involved in.
I really wish you were there for that.
I wish I could have seen it because that sounds hilarious.
It was so fucking funny.
Just absolute chaos
But
coming from
it's a
nothing
lot of it
happening.
is like, yeah, just like who was there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have so many memories of like when I was like a teenager going to watch the sunset, like with my friends, we would ride our bikes to like the beach and
Yeah.
you could watch the sunset over the lake. And now
Damn.
like as like an
Sounds
adult,
dope.
I'm like, man, like I wish that like I could just like go ride my bike to the lake
Yeah.
with
Well,
my friends and do
because
that now.
Not that no one does this, but it usually takes a very normal societal event for people to be together.
Yeah.
So if you like, yes, I'm sure there's some friends. If you were like, hey, you want to ride the bikes to the thing and watch the sunset? Someone's probably going to be like, actually, yeah. But most often, no one is ever thinking.
Sorry,
in
I got to
that
work
way.
in the morning and yada
Yeah,
yada
it's
yada.
no.
Yeah.
Everyone's just sort of like, oh, life is life now, and I've got this going on. I'm too tired from work. I've got to eat dinner. Blah blah blah.
Yes.
All valid things, but I don't think people make time for the fun things that could
Yes.
happen. And yes, fun stuff comes from just like, oh, this person's having a birthday party and we haven't seen each other in 6 months, so we're getting together for the birthday party. And at that party, new memories are created. But it's like that can happen way more often.
Yeah,
I think we
it
can
could.
actively develop more core memories. What can become core memories? What can just become like
Even-
actual like joyous things to experience? What are
Yeah.
you gonna say?
I just went to my friend's bachelorette party and we just stayed at a cabin for 2 days and did like kayaking and we went on a little hike, and just the cabin in general, everything was a core memory for me because I haven't been on a vacation or gone and stayed anywhere in so long that everything was like new and it was all in nature. So that's going to do something to you. And yeah, it's crazy because a lot of people don't make time for it and a lot of people can't. But if you can find those like little things.
And I also think sometimes when people are in the middle of something that could kind of digest itself as a core memory, you're not necessarily open to that.
Yeah.
Not that you're being negative against it, like, oh, no, this sucks, but like you're so in like, okay, after this weekend, I got to get back to work on
Yeah.
Monday and I got to do this and I got to do that. So I'm here, but I'm not present.
Yep.
So then I think that causes things to settle in different to our
Yes.
emotions, to our mental state, to like something really random. And Alex and I just chatted about this a couple weeks ago, but like something that I think has developed as potentially a small core memory is when we
Yes.
came to your cabin
Yes.
at your wedding.
And tried to murder us.
No, and that's why. That's the point, right? It's like late at night, like everybody's like getting ready to go to bed for their wedding the next day and all this sort of stuff. And me and one of our friends, like we go to their cabin to get something or to ask
You just
something.
had to tell us something. It's not a big deal. I'm not kidding. We laid down 2 minutes before he knocked on the door. Okay.
And and not a big. I literally knock on the door. They're upset that we knocked on the door rather than just walking in. So they're freaking out. And like the reason I think that that's like burned into my brain is because like that whole scenario felt like we are teenagers with no responsibilities and we're all at this camp.
Yeah.
And it felt like a summer camp moment.
Yeah.
Because we were literally at what is a summer camp.
You were like sneaking over to tell us something real quick. Like, hey, I know we're all going to bed, but like real quick, Zach needs you to know this.
Yeah.
But it turned into this thing.
And it turned into like, why are you being creepy and knocking on the door? And I'm like, what's creepy about not walking in the cabin? And they're like, well, why didn't you walk in? I'm like, why would I? And they're like, oh, well, I don't. And then so then the whole joke became like, who's the serial killer? Who's the, Camp Crystal Lake sort of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I think that sticks out because yes, it is just a goofy moment, but in that moment, when I think about that, it feels like we were all just like kids at camp.
We let it be a goofy moment because you could have knocked on the door and we could have been like, yep, got it.
Yes,
I'll do that in the morning.
Awesome. We are going to
Good
sleep.
night.
Thank you so much for that information. Good night. Lock the door. Like
But it was just the whole thing.
But it was just like
we all were tapped into where we were, which was nice.
Yeah, it was everyone was present in that moment, and it wasn't like we're going to bed. What do you do? Like
that's I think part of core memories is being so engulfed in that moment.
Yes.
That nothing else is like in your mind of like, oh, there's a million other things. Like there have been, I think, too many, like maybe this is just as you get older in general. There have been too many other things in the back of my mind, like as an adult where I'm like, oh, I do have to work on this, a couple days. I have to remember to do this. Oh yeah, I've got to, submit my car payment. And
I would love to know what people are doing to combat that because that's my brain 24/7.
Yeah. But I feel like it's hard to make core memories when you're not fully like just like engulfed in that moment.
Yeah.
Like if you're able to like put your phone away and have like an actual like moment there.
There's space for that moment to live, which is like when
Yes.
you're a kid or a teenager, like not that life things aren't happening, but that's not, you're not thinking about paying bills. You're not thinking about going to work. You're not thinking about all these things.
You weren't
so it's
thinking
like,
about the fact that you had a science test or some shit because you didn't care.
yeah,
Like,
you realistically were like, oh yeah, that's school. But right now I'm so engulfed in getting to have fun because I have to go to school, where now it's just like, well, adult life happens all the time.
Right.
It's not just when you go to work on Monday. It's getting prepped to go to work on Monday. It's you can't wait to get home on Friday. It's all of those sort of things. And I do think that is the like, and again, having the benefit of like having done a bunch of work to be able to work for myself, and we've talked about this on the show, of like I get to, kind of decide what my life looks like and stuff. Doesn't mean that there's not stressors, but I do think that like that has also made me be able to be a little more aware of, I want to be present in this moment. Even if there is something else that's like knocking at the back of my head of like whatever, I'm like, yeah, but like I'll get to that. I know I'll get to that. I know I'm not ignoring it for enjoying this moment right now.
Yes.
And I think that that's like just being present can still allow for new core memories to be achieved. It doesn't take some vast event.
Right. Well, there's adult guilt, I think, that comes along with enjoying things to a certain point.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's almost just like if you're enjoying a moment, sometimes it's like this would have been so much more fun if so-and-so were here.
Right.
Or like, I wish so-and-so were here to see this or hear this or be part of this. Or, oh, this is like such a great moment. I wish I didn't have to like go back to regular life after this vacation is, or
Right.
Yeah, or
things
like, well,
that.
the money I'm spending having fun right now, I gotta fucking make up for later. Like, yeah.
I
Those
wonder,
types of
like, what
things.
do we do about that? Because that is just literally, and I don't ever try to be a pessimist about it, but I am genuinely always like, I really want to enjoy this like little vacation, but I do have to, verify that in 3 weeks from now I have a babysitter for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brain just does not give me that space.
So,
Right.
Something that you can do to help with those kinds of intrusive thoughts is meditate, actually. So meditation is not just in that moment, because you sit down and you clear your mind and you sort of force yourself to focus on your breathing or one specific thing. But where it helps you in other areas of your life is that you've trained your brain to be able to be like, no, this is what I'm focusing on right now, and not to like sit there and think about all the millions of other things that need to get done, because it will allow you to actually enjoy what you're experiencing in that moment.
And I think another like mental thing that I walk myself through is like, all of regular life things are always going to be there. Like, we're always going to need money. We're always going to need a babysitter. We're always going to need, a job. We're always going to need all these things. And I've been able to identify what I'm experiencing right now might not always be. So I want to experience it for what it is right now, knowing that those other things are going to be there. Whether I'm super stressed about making more money right now or super stressed about making more money in a week, that's still going to be no matter what. I can get paid today, and then guess what? Once I pay rent, I'm going to be like, oh shit, okay, I need more clients. I need more of this. Like, that's always going to be there. So I always try to like make myself very present in the moment of, I only get to experience this thing as it is right now.
Yeah.
The normal things are always going to be there. The normal things, it's always going to pop back up. And not that, a fun experience you're having right now, you're never going to get to do again.
Right.
Yeah.
But it in its form as it is right now, you're experiencing that.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have to make more money. You're always going to have to get a job. You're always going to have to do these other things. And it's like, that stuff is almost like default life stuff that's just going to be there. So in my mind, I'm always like, why make the battle into like a war when it's just a battle?
Well, and another thing that I think that we do as adults, and I try to check Nick in this way a lot because I think that he struggles with it as somebody that runs a company. He'll be sitting there going, I have a million things to do. And I just like, I can't like, we'll be like at dinner or something. And he'll just be like, sorry, I have like a million emails that I have to send out. I have to finish this video and I have to yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, there are certain things that like you can control, of course. And there are things that you have to get done. And then there are things that he'll stress about where I'm like, well, you sent that to so-and-so. And he's like, yeah, but I have to wait for it to come back. And then I have to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so you can't change this
Right. You
at
are,
the moment.
yeah,
Like,
you have time to wait. Therefore, you can like.
right. And so it's like learning to realize, like, if something is out of your control, stop trying to control it and just try to instead pay attention to the things around you that you either can control or can enjoy. Because if you're sitting there thinking like, oh my God, I'm waiting for this person to get back to me about whether I got this job or not. You already did your part. You already did the interview. You already filled out the application. You did your part, and you cannot do anything in this moment at this dinner table that is going to change the outcome of this situation. So you might as well eat your fucking dinner.
And that's the thing too, is like identifying like those present moments, like what is more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that goes into life in general. Like, is work more important or is being present with whoever you're with more important? And of course, like work is going to like be pounding in your head of like, oh, what about this idea and that idea?
Yeah.
But it's like, again, I think there's just a lot of value to being present in those moments, looking at this for what it is. Like I would say for me, like babysitting, core memory now. Like,
I'm glad.
That is literally core memory. I'm not saying every single time in the future it's going to be perfect. There's probably going to be a day where I'm like, what the fuck? But like that first time, core
you have
memory
that as your memory.
And it's like, I wasn't on, and I get the joke is like, well, because you can't be, but like, I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't looking for reasons to be on my phone. I wasn't checking emails. I wasn't worried about what was the next shoot, what was the next meeting, what was it. I was like, and like, yes, that's keeping tiny humans alive. You gotta be present. But like, the larger point I'm making is like, I could have been like, yeah, I guess I'll watch. I got a lot going on.
And you're like, all right, guys, sit down.
Like, do your thing. Any chance I get, I'm going to stay doing all the stuff that, again, is going to exist no matter what. For me, the excitement was getting to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that now becomes such an important thing that I have experienced and got to do, to where it's not oh, thank you so much for doing that. I'm so sorry. For me,
even though I will always respond to everyone like that.
Of course, 100%. But it's like, for me, it was, I can't believe I got to do that. Was trusted to do that. Was, you know what I mean? And like, and it was an enjoyable thing where I wasn't. There was literally no part of my day. And I'm not making the joke of like, because it's so chaotic. Literally, like calm moments, there's no part of my day where I was like, what am I doing for work next month, next week? I gotta I can't believe I spent 8 hours today with these kids. Like, nope. Mm-hmm. It was just like, this is what's happening. I'm here for this. I'm going to be present in this moment because I also, and this is a whole other thing for a whole other conversation because we should probably be wrapping this episode up, but it's like, I just don't like, life is already difficult. We don't have to do things to make it harder.
Yeah.
And like those things, again, they're always going to be there. Jobs and work and all this sort of stuff that we have to deal with, that's always going to be there. And that stuff can be dealt with at any point in time. Nothing, unless it's like a life or death, like crazy situation, like some life altering thing of like your bank account got hacked. And if you don't act now, all your shit's gone. Like something crazy. Nothing is that immediate.
Yeah.
Usually it's just not.
Yeah.
You don't have to send the text back immediately.
You try telling that to my brain.
Well, something I actually read, I have this app called Headspace. This is not an ad.
This episode is sponsored by Headspace.
It's called Headspace, and I do pay for it because it's essentially, it takes books that have like, not necessarily self-help books, but books that are kind of about the brain and, you know, just random stuff like that. And it like smushes them into like chapters where you can kind of speed through them. And something that I read recently that really stuck with me was about worrying. And it was something where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm like losing it because now I'm like going into this explanation of how I found it.
You're too in the moment. So you're like
too in the moment.
I'm just so present. Wow.
Yeah. So present.
Can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday because I'm here.
I'm here right now.
Gosh, what were we talking? It was something off of what you said.
Headspace.
Things like only being important right now, being present, like you'll get to it later. You don't have to like put your...
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say there was something about worrying in this book that I read on Headspace, and it basically was something along the lines of like, what were you saying to him where you said, tell my brain that?
Because he was like, it will always, like, everything will always be there. You
Like,
don't
you
have
can-
to respond
you
to
can
that
get to
text.
it.
You don't
Okay,
have to.
now I remember. Okay, so it was essentially something like, okay, if you're worrying about a situation, and this is how my brain works with OCD, and why I feel like I'm either really anxious all the time or I'm really chill all the time. Because if you think of the worst possible outcome, like, okay, if I do this, I might lose my job. Okay, then what? What happens if you lose your job? Well, you might get a better job. You might be like looking at this as a negative thing when realistically it could launch you into different things. Like during those thoughts when you're thinking of like all the, like, oh my gosh, I need to get this done or else that.
Yeah.
You have to think about what comes after the or else.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like if we're constantly focusing on, oh my God, I could lose my job, or oh my God, my friend might be mad at me, or, you know, my spouse might be upset if I got home late, or, you know, something like that. If you're thinking like, oh, I really should, you know, take time and do something for myself, but I feel like I can't because I need to be thinking about these other things. If you're worried about everything constantly to a point where you're going to the worst case scenario, you have to look past that worst case scenario and be like, what would be really so bad about that? Mm-hmm. How would that really affect my life?
Because the unknown is what is most scary. It's like not going to what the actual result would be.
Exactly. Because you're thinking the result is I could lose my job. I could lose my like credibility as, you know, somebody that whatever. Like if you're worried about something, you have to really think like, okay, what if so-and-so is upset because I'm late? Okay, well then the worst thing that they can do is say, oh my God, you were late. Why are you late? And then you explain yourself, and then what?
The ball's in their court.
Yeah, because
That's what I always say.
There's a difference between worrying about the what ifs, but actually acting on the actually is in front of you.
Exactly. And I think that there's a lot of like being present in the moment, I think is a lot of, like learning to either meditate away, like being able to be like, no, I'm not going to think about those things right now, or thinking about them so in depth to a point where you're like, okay, I don't need to worry about this because this is the worst thing that could happen. And if I'm not worried about the worst thing that could happen, then I don't need to be worried. And in most cases, the worst case scenario is not the most likely scenario. Mm-hmm. But I do think that we tend to get caught up in moments of worry and moments of like just being like caught up in general in other thoughts. And then we don't get to create as many core memories because we're so, as adults, like focused on other bullshit that's in our brains all the time.
So and it shows too, because we went over here and said, here's 50 childhood and teenage memories. Here's 2 or 3 adult ones.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I would have realized that if we hadn't like had this conversation that I don't have a ton of core memories as an adult.
Doesn't
Yeah.
mean we haven't experienced fun things or haven't
Right.
experienced joy
But
or
we
whatever.
might
It's
also
like-
not have been as present as we wanted to, and we can only going forward continue to attempt to do that.
Absolutely.
I don't know a better way to wrap up this
I
episode
agree.
rather than letting our PhDs shine through right there with a bunch of.
Yeah.
Is there
Yes.
anything we want to leave with or add to or anything before we tell everyone goodbye?
I think, like we usually say, if you have a core memory that you're like, they would love this, they have to know about this, please send us a message when you hear this episode. We love hearing your guys' perspective on these things too.
Absolutely.
Please.
If you want to laugh at Ross for tripping on a rug
Oh my
and
God, yeah, just send a
breaking
million
Brittany's-
ha-ha-has.
breaking Brittany's house.
If you mess with AI generated images, can you give me an AI generated image of what I just described to you of me
Yeah.
tripping on a rug and it destroying the whole living room so I can print it out and give it to Zach and Brittany as a gift?
Yes, please.
I would love if you could do that as well. But if you can't, what you could do for each of us that is going to make us real happy and become maybe a core memory of remembering that this show was successful is give us a star rating and a review. Give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, all the things. Follow us at Honestly Same Pod so we can keep sharing and creating all of our core memories together. At this
Together.
table.
I was
Oh,
off beat.
we can do it again.
Together.
Wait.
What the fuck?
Shit. Okay, try it again. 1, 2.
Together.
Oh wait, sorry. Okay, sorry. No, okay, yeah.
Leave us on.
Try- one more, yeah.
Together. You know what?
Repeat it. Together.